Wow.
Oh my gosh. Hey, all you out there in whatever land you're finding us from. Welcome back to another edition of Live and Unscripted. Are you laughing or yawning? Live and Unscripted with Jen and Ligia. This is part of the Righteous Rebels broadcasting. And I haven't done one for a few weeks, partly because I just haven't done one. And I didn't have them scheduled. I had good intention to do them in the last couple of weeks, and instead was just really caught up in the joy of play and creation and work. So today we are back. We're back, and we're gonna do the live and unscripted ourselves. We're gonna start back with guests next week, starting with a fellow that I've known his entire life. By the name of Corey Miller. You guys are going to get a kick out of him. I affectionately call him Chief Laudable, and I think you'll understand why after listening to the conversation that I know will be completely engaging. At least it will for me. I'm pretty sure it will be for you too. So we're going to start today how we usually start, and that's with breathing, because I could use some breathing. I seriously just spent the last 45 minutes trying to figure out how to get back into my stuff because, like, is there a new rule that if you're not on your computer, your programs, I just asked this to Leah, after a certain number of days that they just kick you out of everything? So I could use a little breathing. So here's how we're going to do it today. I'm going to invite you to put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, probably just around your belly button, maybe just a little bit above it. And we're going to breathe in a figure 8. So envision your breath going from your belly button through, like, just above your belly button. It's going to go through your body to your back, and it's going to re-enter through your back into your heart. So creating a figure 8 this way in your body. So we're just going to bring the heart back into coherence, just that lovely, normal, beautiful rhythm that it has, that brings presence, it brings calm, it brings clarity, and just puts us right here, right now. You're welcome to let go of any, like, you may have been feeling in the last 45 minutes. And I know I will be. But let's just take 60 seconds. Feel free to do this with closed eyes or downward gaze, and just follow that figure 8 with your breathing. And we'll be back with our normal programming here in 60 seconds. All right, downward gaze or closed eyes, whichever feels best for you. All right, and when you're ready, just come back into presence.
That breathing thing did not work for me at all.
Tell me what's up for you. For me, it was really great to just go, holy shizballs, I'm glad I'm able to be here and not in the last 45 minutes. Like, that really, I did really good though. I maybe only used 2 cuss words and had 1 small tantrum. Does that sound about right?
And I think the tantrum is what's like keeps filtering through my head. sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I know that frustration. I
No, you're
know
laughing at me.
I am totally laughing at you. I just appreciate those. Maybe it's just that it's not me, and there's that appreciation that I get to see myself and how probably I would act if I was dealing with all the being logged out and having to remember passwords and why this isn't working and why I can't get into
Right.
that and
Right? Thinking you have an upgrade that you've paid for in February, only to find out that you don't really have the upgrade because they didn't tell you until now that your card didn't like. It was super frustrating, but here we are, and here's the cool thing is I'm grateful for safe spaces to just like be real with that and to have a small tantrum and to make, I would imagine, pretty amazingly funny faces and to just be able to be real. So thank you for holding that space for me as we figured this out. And for those of you who are watching this or listening to this, it's okay. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to have little tantrums. It's okay because it's just a way to release the energy versus keeping it all tied up inside you where later down the road, some little teeny thing is going to poke you and you're going to have a massive explosion, creating all kinds of collateral damage. Like, it's okay to have a small tantrum in the moment. And it means nothing about you other than you're feeling frustration and you're choosing to let it go in ways that are healthy. So,
and even just the awareness that I'm having a tantrum and just acknowledging that for yourself can be really just helping you move through that tantrum too. And for me, sometimes the laughter is just nerves, like because I know those spaces, and for me, it's a release. And sometimes it's not knowing how to support or be helpful, and I get the giggles, and it's just and maybe it's a unconscious way of bringing hopefully maybe some levity and hopefully not upsetting who's feeling a little triggered in that moment. So so you took my laughter quite well, Jen, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay because really somewhere on the inside, even in the frustration, I'm able to giggle too because I can. It's like I'm able to like sit back and see the parts of me just having this rumble or this battle, and I am able to giggle too. But in the moments of like trying to get all the things figured out when I really don't feel like I'm super skilled at that, that's where the frustration comes from. And thank you to the person on the live chat who helped me out. That was also super awesome as well.
Well, and it's interesting. Hold on. I just think it's interesting. Yeah. What is it that triggers the frustration? Is it that you had to go through the steps of figuring that out, or did that frustration stem from it should be already done? I should have just been able to, just that having those expectations that I should have been able to just press the button, and now it's taking this time. And we said, we're going to start this live 45 minutes ago. And we add all this extra pressure to the learning experience that we don't feel we should be having in that particular moment. And it's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And to answer that for myself, yeah, it was super frustrating to get on a platform that I've been using and that has been working and functioning how I think it should be working and functioning based off of the agreements that I thought were made as far as like the plans being used and all of that. And to get on and be like, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. It says I'm on the free plan. I paid for a different plan in February. And to go, yeah, that was really frustrating because I know that then it brings up that like, now I have to go in and probably refigure out how to hook it up to this side and to that one and to that one. And passwords, freaking passwords. Like, does anyone else
have all the different ones?
Right. And then some of them you're required to change often. And yeah, so it does. That's it. I think it is that expectation. And then just that frustration of like, not remembering or And I don't think it's that I don't make myself feel dumb, because it just is what it is. It just isn't something I was wanting to deal with in that moment. Had I been prepared, like, that would have been cool. It's kind of like when you go somewhere and you're like, oh my heck, I'm going to the mountains and I know I'm not going to have cell phone reception. And you're like, yeah, woohoo! I can just use my phone for pictures. Versus when you're going to somewhere like Montana and your phone should work and it doesn't work and you're not expecting it to work. That, like, that's kind of the feeling I had today.
That's awesome. And you know what? We all have those moments, and I just love that we could go through that process and what that's like, and hopefully invite our viewers to explore that process for themselves, and recognize and just bring some more self-awareness to what that experience is for them.
Yeah. Well, and I'm giggling to myself because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like such probably a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about today. And
That's part of the giggle.
Right? That's part of the giggle. Damn right.
Dang.
And so let's just move into what we had intended to chat about today, and be grateful that we had all the precursor stuff. And maybe it's to let out some of the energy of that, or to just prep for that, because I know it's tender.
Definitely. So I had posted if you're part of the Righteous Rebel group on Facebook,
Wait, what? In case they're not, where do they need to go?
To the Righteous Rebels on Facebook. You can hit the join button there. We are also streaming to YouTube and LinkedIn. Yes. I knew you were in a space, Jen, when you're like in whatever land you're joining us from. I was like, damn. It's like, wow, okay. I see you.
It's like I couldn't even think, like, where are we streaming to? Where am I at right now? I just hit go. I thought I was ready, and dang.
Doesn't that feel amazing? Just amazing. Going to start without not fully knowing what you're going through. And I find that incredibly interesting, and I'll tell you why. Today we're talking about lines. I had the privilege last night to go to it's a community concert of all the schools in the area, and they have groups that they do a performance. It's all for the arts, whether it's singing, a short play, instruments, bands, all that stuff. And there was a girl, she is at the local high school, and she performed a song that she wrote about staying in the lines. And the song was all about knowing, like, show me what the lines are so I can color within them, so I know what my limits are, and I know how far I can take it. And it was just really interesting because I just came back from Idaho, and I had brought a book with me that I wanted to gift to Jen. Do you have the book, Jen? So this book is called The Line. It's a super fun, interactive book, and it's just
super fun. I'm gonna say it's super fun.
Super fun. And I was just gonna leave it with Jen, but something was just poking at me to, like, let's start this together and see how that goes. And what I found really surprising is what you do in this book is it gives you some instruction, and you start just drawing a line. You literally draw in this book. You can scribble, you can make loop-de-loops. You know, what's a prompt in there, Jen?
I just was playing. I'm like, I don't want to give away too much, but because we're going to talk about it. The book also is by Keri Smith, Keri Smith. So, like, the first one says, start here. Find a pencil. Turn to the cover of the book. Begin drawing a line in any direction. Take your time. There's no rush. Bring the line to the bottom edge of the cover. Continue the line onto the inside of the cover. Come to this spot. Now move the line down the page. So it looks like this. That's the first prompt in the book. It's how it all began.
And so as we're following the prompts and we're, in my head, I'm just drawing a line and we're having some fun with it. And, I'm curious what the next line prompt is going to be. And there's some that like tell you go over the hills or make really tight circles or go really fast.
What does go on the back of the page?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And as we're going through it, I'm just like, oh, this is so fun. And I noticed there was an energy shift and a seriousness. And I'm not going to talk to your experience, Jen. Like, I'd love for you to share what that was like for you.
Well, I actually would love to hear more of what, like, you share more of what your experience of that was before I go into. You've not shared like what your experience of my experience was.
Okay.
Up to the point where we took a break.
Okay. So we're drawing lines, we're taking turns with the prompts, and I love books like this because they challenge my way of thinking. It's very much like how we get into habits of always brushing our teeth with our right hand or our left hand, or always doing stuff with our dominant side, and how we don't learn how to do things in a different way. And that I feel is like always been my part of how I like to operate, is how can I do this different? Like I like routine to a point, then I get bored and I got to try something else. And so that's my way of practicing that and the creative parts. And so when I thought, it was so fun, and I noticed Jen got really quiet, and it just, I was like, is she thinking this is dumb? Is this like just not her thing? Is this like, what? I didn't understand what was going on, and just trying to keep going through them. And I figuring if she doesn't want to do it anymore, you're going to tell me and we'll just move on from there. And then the next part surprised me of that you shared that it was really challenging for you to be in that space, and that it was poking, parts of you that aren't sure how to feel about being poked. So that was, I noticed a shift, but I didn't understand what that was and how to navigate through it until you shared what was going on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what I appreciate about that share is the you noticing there was a difference, but without knowing what the difference was, how easy it could have been and probably was to create a story, true or untrue, about what was going on inside of the experience without actually pausing and saying, hey, can you tell me what's going on? I'm noticing this shift. Or and that didn't happen. We just kept going. But I think had we gone farther and I didn't say something, I would imagine, I'm just saying, it's so easy in our experiences with other people to create a story when we don't know what's going on. And usually that story is based off of our own insecurity, our own life experience, and we're projecting it on the situation or on the person instead of keeping it. So I love that piece of it. And I was trying to find the page where we stopped. We finally got to a place where I was like, I think I acknowledged that it was challenging for me first. And then we did a couple more pages and I'm like, I need to stop. Like, it was, my experience was, oh shit, a line. I have to draw, like, it was first like the words on the page and what it was asking me to do. And then it was like, am I doing it right? Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? And Leah's like, just draw lines. I'm like, I found myself really wanting to I guess withdraw, but like really pull in. I felt myself getting tight. My hand wanted to move, but I felt like I felt like a rigidity coming in, and this like huge internal battle of like, this should be fun. I'm watching Leah just be like all loosey goosey with it and having a heyday, like drawing the line like it's no big deal. And I was struggling. I was having a hard time. And I finally had to say, like, I need to stop. Like, this is really punching places inside of me. It's really poking, and I'm not exactly sure what it's poking, but I need to pause and I need to be able to have some conversation about this and to say, I know this is supposed to be fun, but it doesn't feel fun. It's challenging the places in me that say, it's challenging the perfectionist places that really still have a stronghold. And luckily those places are much smaller, but they're still there. They're deeply ingrained. It was poking the places of being taught that I have to have answers, that I have to have all the answers. It was poking the places of um like the lines that it kind of goes back to my TED talk, which is hide or seek loving outside the lines. It's like in there I talk about knowing what the lines are for myself, and that those lines, inside of those lines, is how I knew that I could get love, I could get belonging, I could get the things that I needed inside of those lines. But those lines were other people's lines, they weren't mine. And so it was poking those places. um it was poking the fact that I was being observed, and having to do this in front of another person, and who I, like, in my heart and in my right mind, knew could care less what I was drawing on the page. But there was that piece of me that was like, oh, I'm being observed. And so I'm trying to think if there were more pieces. Did I say other things? I mean,
I know you had talked about just attaching your worth to knowing the right way to do things. I love the piece that you shared about other people's lines, and that's part of what I wanted to talk a little more about today, about these lines. And um, but yeah, you had talked about, what else was the other thing? Just how, I know you made a remark about how easy it seemed for me, and how challenging it was coming out for you. And I think it reminded me of the watercolor moments, and letting go into that. I had never imagined that this activity would elicit that kind of response. And I take that for granted, and I find it interesting just to be really aware of how challenging, what it reminds me of, those pieces of like, what seems easy to us is a challenge for other people, because they have a whole different experience. So I didn't have the same upbringing as you, and I didn't have the same demands that way of responsibility, maybe, or of a belief system that has impacted me that way. Like, I feel like I was just more I just spent a lot of time more alone and doing my own thing than I could explore that and what that looks like for me.
yeah, thank you for bringing some of that back to memory. It just, and what I found was, like, I felt myself really step back into being a little kid. Like, I felt like a little kid, like drawing that line, and wanting to please the teacher or please my parents, or again, just all of those pieces, and knowing that if I didn't do it right, then it affected my worth or my value. It affected, who I was in this body and in this space. And just the realization of those things coming through, the fact that I was drawing a simple line. I was asked to draw a simple line. And I could have drawn the line straight down the page and it would have been okay. But I really wanted to, like, jump into the activity. And I was surprised. I was really honestly surprised how challenging it was for me. But here was the really cool part of saying, one, honoring the fact that I'm feeling a lot of things, and this is like I'm going to have an explosion if I need to stop. I need to pause from what we're doing because it is welling up, and to have that request honored without question was incredible. And then to be able to have a space to say, this is what I'm experiencing right now. These are the feelings and the emotions that are rumbling around, that are coming out, to be able to express some of them through tears, and to be able to have a conversation about, wow, wow, on your end, you're like, I would have never thought about that. And it helps me see things in a different way. It helps me see you in a different way. It helps me understand myself in this, in a different way than I did 10 minutes ago when we started. And what happened is being able to have that safe space to just be real and talk about what was going on inside of me. I physically felt a loosening. I felt a loosening in my heart. I felt like an ungrasping, an opening up of whatever was just like clenching me, wanting to just clench me so tight. And I felt that release, and I felt this wave of like, okay, can we do some more? Like, I actually think this could be fun. And I really do want to go back into it. Like, I don't want to quit this thing that I know holds value for me, even if it's challenging. And I might be nervous about what the next damn page is going to ask me to do, but I'm going to do it. And knowing that I wasn't doing it alone, that I had someone who could support, who understood what I was experiencing just in the best way they could through my words, and then support me through that was an incredible feeling. And I will say, like, the next pages, like, I was able to just relax into that and let myself go a little bit more. And I even put chili on one of the pages. Like, we went outside and scribbled them on the pavement. It did become more fun because I took time to honor what I was feeling and to talk about it, but I had the space and the person. So I just want to make this plug that's part of what Righteous Rebels is about, is being freaking real and having the space to do it, to talk about what you're feeling, so you can loosen the grip that it has on you, and be able to find that aliveness. And we're like halfway through the book, and Leah's not here anymore, and we're still going to do it. Although it will be a different experience. I'm excited to continue on with this line and see where it challenges me, and move forward with it. So that was my experience up to now.
It's so interesting to me because, I think of how you run the pod, this talk, whether you're talking with people, you go in not knowing, and you can play in that space. And
We're outdoor spaces.
Yeah. It just makes me curious. What is it about the actual tool in your hand and on paper that really seems to poke at you? Because I know you've had some of those moments in the watercolor experience as well. And it just reminds me of like the blank page paralysis that I've had it too. Like, I just don't know where to start. I've learned, you just start, even whether it's writing or drawing, you just put some mark on the page and let it be okay, and build from there. But that white page paralysis could be, it's like a metaphor for life, like when we're not sure what the next step is, or we're not sure what the instructions are, and how people are going to see us, and how we see ourselves. And that all plays a part in a bigger role than it seems like just a line, but there's so much more meaning and charge behind the marks on the page.
I was literally blown away by the charge that being asked to draw a line had for me. Are we getting comments that I can't see?
Yeah, I think it's
Saw
something.
And it also, when you're talking, it kind of made me think about this experience of writing my book, my first book, of how many times I sit down, the blank page stuff, how many times I sit down and I'm like, I don't know what to write. And so I just start writing I don't know what to write. And I just write nonsense until a sense of flow or ideas start to happen. And I guess maybe that's the same kind of thing there. Is it just the flow came when I could, because on the keyboard I can just type my random thoughts, and no matter how dumb they are. And
Well, it's getting past those guardians of the mind that you talk
yeah,
about, You
yeah,
have the guardians like, I don't know what to write. It's going to sound stupid. Where do I start? You have all these questions. Those are your guardians. But if you can just start writing, you bypass that somehow and just you just let the flow out. And not all the time, but most times you can get some pretty good insights and just movement going that way, if you just commit to showing up and to start the writing, to start the painting or whatever it is you're doing. It's like a workout, like how many times do we not feel like doing our workout, or maybe it's cooking a meal or whatever it is you don't feel like doing. It's showing up to do it, doing the first few minutes, and then okay, I'm into it. I can roll into this. So
right.
I honor you that you went as long as you did in that activity. And
Hey, I even took it to the river the next day so we could continue. I'm just
yes,
going to say that. I'm going to acknowledge that. And I looked forward to it.
yeah, it was good.
I think that space of getting behind the guardian of the mind in this particular line activity was the moment when I said, I need a break. Like I need a pause. And then the opportunity to move the energy through conversation. That was I love that you brought that up, because it's part of the reason that I love using play and activity and nature as part of the teaching tool, because it distracts. It distracts those guardians that are trying to keep us safe. But really they're just trying to keep us sane. And I love what can come through movement of the body by how it allows us to get in even deeper and find those just really beautiful, yummy pieces that have just been stuck. And when they strike us, they don't seem to strike us quite as deeply or as challenging as if we were maybe, and nothing against like counseling or any of that, than if we were just sitting, because we're out doing the energy is already flowing and moving, and we're able to move through it and move on even faster. So I
Well,
appreciate you
even
bringing that.
just when you were talking about going to meet someone and hoping that you would have the opportunity to go for a walk or something, I just think some of the greatest conversations come in that movement when both of you are open and energy, like you said, is flowing, like, or just outside of stagnant spaces. So definitely. I just want to acknowledge Megan. She said, I didn't realize until that painting uncovers a lot of emotions I didn't even know existed. And that's with painting, with writing, with anything that you find is flow. It could be with exercise. I know, Jen, you've shared moments where you've had, visions or clarity, or just conversations, or insights when you've been on those long runs. And I know that's been my experience as well. I think with painting for
Go ahead. I'll remember.
no, I won't.
Oh, I apologize.
I think with painting, it allows space to express the things that I don't have words for. And or when I don't have the paint visions for, it comes out more in writing for me, and whatever that is for you, like making sure you're taking time to practice in those flow spaces, even if it doesn't feel natural, just starting in that process.
Well, and thanks for finishing out. The thought that came to my mind was, and that can happen in this is the other big thing for me, is that can happen in everyday spaces, that flow and that creativity and the uncovering of and discovering of emotions and feelings, is that can happen while doing the dishes. If you allow yourself to be present enough, like notice how you wash the dishes. How do you put them in the sink? What do you have a form in which you do that? Do you have a routine? And for me, I put the plates in and I wash the little ones first and then the big ones, because when I stack them to rinse them, then the big ones are rinsed first. Like there's an art in all of that, and there's creativity in all of that, and routine. And it can be how you fold your laundry. It can be how you vacuum your floors or how you rake your yard. It's becoming present to those emotions in all of the things, and not just, Leah talks about how everybody is creative, and that's just the truth. We're born creators. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it in an art form or a musical form. It can be in the form of doing your everyday activities and uncovering the things, but you have to allow yourself to be present enough and aware enough to like be in the experience and not just going through the motions. And let's be real, I go through the motions plenty of times. But when I make an intention to, I have, that's funny. I didn't quite read all that. To just be present in the experience, those everyday things take on a different magic and meaning. And it actually becomes a gift. And life changes when you become present in all of those things. And again, I'm human. I'm not always present. Sometimes I do them just because they need to be done. But yeah,
it's neat to take those moments though, and just pay attention to how we're creating our experience, and if we're actively creating it or if we're in autopilot creation, we're always creating it. And it makes me think of the rules of how it makes me think of living with other people or visiting, and not doing it, trying to be helpful, but not doing it in the way that they do it. And so it's not right. And it's either rearranged or comments are made, or sometimes it's just let go and then moving forward, that sort of thing. But how sometimes we can get tripped up in other people's expectations of how things should be done, and just because they do it that way, that's how we need to be doing it. And it makes me think of the lines, like what lines are you staying within, and did you draw those lines? Are those lines of your creation, and do they support who you're trying to be and how you want to show up in the world, and how you move through it? I think of your talk, and how you the TED Talk about going past the lines, and how challenging that was, and feeling like your whole world is I don't know if imploding is the right word, but just the whole world is just rearranging around you, and you're trying to figure out your footing, and what are your new lines now, and how do I move and still maintain things that are important to me. So
yeah, how do I still be me, the me that I created inside those lines, outside of those lines? And the reality is, you don't have to be the you that you were inside those lines. And in most cases, you probably can't be, because it's expansion, and we're here to expand. We're here to grow and become to not become, but to recognize and act as the amazingly magical creatures that we already are. But it requires us to erase lines or do them in a different way, or just crack them down altogether.
Combine them, just explore what other lines can be. And I think of that song that I mentioned at the beginning of knowing what my limits are, and that line sticks with me just because I need to know it's this idea that I need to know how far I can push without crossing over that line, without, crossing into the realm of like, am I still going to be loved? Am I still going to be accepted? Am I still going to have a sense of belonging if I explore outside that line, and just all the charge that's associated with wanting to explore out that line. But I think we're just born to be explorers, and we're curious. We're curious creatures that want to know what's beyond the line. I think of Moana.
Right? Yeah. So as you're talking, I'm like, oh, do I want to say the next things? I don't really want to say them, but I'm going to say them because they're coming to my mind as far as pushing lines, or expanding them out, like creating a break and expanding them out, or like you say, hooking them with other lines, and creating really getting serious about creating the righteous rebels and taking the steps to put things together has created a lot of unexpected, which I hear myself say that and I'm like, hello, you should have known that this was going to happen. A lot of rearranging of lines, erasing lines, and challenging the lines that I've drawn for myself or that other people have drawn for me. And yesterday I had an opportunity to have a conversation with my mom, and I was really apprehensive to have this conversation because in the past the lines were really, really defined, and I had chosen to follow my heart, and which goes against the grain of everything I've been taught. And my mom is like, that's not how I taught you. That's not how I raised you to be. And so we did this butting of heads because I was like, the lines don't work for me anymore. And so I was really apprehensive yesterday to have this conversation with my mom, but I knew that I wanted to, and I knew that it needed to happen in order for me to continue on with my own expansion of all the things that are going on in my world right now. And to be able to have what I would hope would be more safe spaces to say, this is what's going on inside me, and this is how I'm feeling. Like that conversation with Leah in starting the line, like, I'm feeling scrunched and I'm feeling these things. And when this is taking place, then I'm feeling myself release, and I'm feeling, I don't know, comfortable is not the right word. Like I'm able to expand, like I have the room to expand. And the most beautiful thing happened. And I'm saying this to you because this is an invitation. I'm inviting you to do what I'm about to talk about. And as I sat down and had lunch with my mom, I was feeling my own apprehension. I was noticing certain thoughts come into my mind, and kind of the same thing have happened right now. I was like, I don't know that I want to share that, because I know that will lead to other questions, that it will lead to me having to actually like spill some beans that I don't know that I was ready to spill, but I was totally ready to spill. And we got into this conversation, and the most beautiful thing happened. And my mom just sat there and listened. And as I told her things, she just listened. And I didn't see the expressions in the past of like, oh, damn, she's like, here she goes again, like crossing the lines and doing the wrong thing, and some of the old patterning that she and I have had together in some of our conversations and our lived experience. And I watched her because I was actually kind of bracing myself for the blow, but at the same time really being willing to let my guard down and be in this experience because it's what I wanted. And this really cool thing happened where she just listened. And I recognized that she was just listening. And I said, through very teary eyes and voice, I just said, thank you for just listening to what I'm saying. And the listening was a validation. Even if on the inside she may be feeling different things, the listening was a validation of my feelings. And so this is my invitation to you, is that when you're with somebody who, whether you're drawing your own lines or they're in the middle of their lines, that you just listen. You listen when they're saying, I need to expand my lines and this is how I'm doing it, or I've got to connect them with other lines, whatever it may be. And to just be in the expansiveness and the learning and the understanding of those moments. And then to just pay attention to how you feel about what happened in the experience. I don't even know where else to go with that, other than I just felt like I needed to invite you to a challenge to just listen, to set down your own lines that keep you safe, and to challenge those for yourself, but to really listen when someone else is telling you about their lines.
I love that. And I love that you had that experience with your mom, and that I just think it's beautiful that you went in with an expectation based on the history that you've had. And it's just such a beautiful reminder of it can go either way. It can go the way that you know it, or it can go a completely different way. And there's so much gradient in between. And I think of, how when we're doing something different, or, things are going to change, we focus so much on what we know and what we've experienced, or what we've seen other people experience, and just how challenging it is to get out of the automatic mindset that it's going to be, it's not going to be what I hope or what I want it to be. And we forget to imagine the other side of this. It could be really great. And there's this thing to be said about, setting expectations, of how, how we don't want to let ourselves down. We don't want to disappoint ourselves. But then I think of intention, like what do you hope to get out of this interaction? What's your intention, and how differently we can move through that interaction when we set an intention. And all we can do is control our part of that, but just moving in with, I'd like it to go this way, and I'm going to do my part to make that, to create that reality in this interaction. And I have to let go of the other person's reaction, and not be attached to how they respond, and then take your opportunity to not take it personally so much, but like really just, like you said, just listen. And what are they actually, it reminds me of a conversation we had a while ago about just listening. Like, what is it they're actually saying? What is fear, and what's a nugget you can take from it that's going to serve you moving forward.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Who knew that so much amazingness could come from, like, just being invited to draw a line?
Right.
Like, I love the simplicity of it. Yeah, that's one thing that I've been noticing as I'm moving through my current experiences, is how often my training or my upbringing has, whether I was taught it directly or it's just how I interpreted it from the people who were, the authority figures in my world, how much I am finding that I think things, I don't necessarily believe it now, but the patterning, some of the really deep stuff says things have to be hard. And so when I'm experiencing something that feels easy, I'm wanting to make myself wrong and say that it's bad and that it should be hard. And so I'm just noticing these patterns of, again, drawing the line and recognizing, like, what's coming up for me as far as thinking and beliefs, and being able to question that and say, what is actually the truth of that? Like, it doesn't matter if I draw a squiggle here or a zigzag over there, and some of them tell me to go clear off the page and I don't know what to do with that. And realizing that, oh my gosh, that's what I'm getting to experience right now. And it can be easy. and it doesn't have to, it's okay to be right. It's okay to
Love
be
it.
right.
I love it.
Oh, wait, it's about trust.
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 That word has been such a an anchor in so much that we talk about, and how, even just in building the stuff that we've been building in Righteous Rebels, whether it's the river trip, whether it's, finding a way to make the connections at the lodge, and finding ways, for me to come down, and just really leaning into trusting the process, and being okay not knowing. It's unnerving, don't get me wrong, like
It
it's
is
super
unnerving.
unnerving.
Yeah.
But just um how much we got to explore, and just be in that creation space. And it's scary and it's uncomfortable, but a lot of beauty came out of that time. So I'm just
Well,
super grateful for that.
and the piece of, because we chose to be in that space, we met other people who were in similar spaces, and it just created just these beautiful environments for us to be in. Whether that was meeting Amy at the lodge, well, not at the lodge, she drove us there. We hung out.
Mhm.
We got to experience who she is, and then you got to meet Elise, and we got to meet the people who came to the awesome thing, and just all these people who are in this space of wanting to see things differently, and have that expansion. And that's the beauty of what we're creating, is to help you connect with the people who are vibing, raising their vibe, and helping you create your tribes that way. Can we talk about the river trip for a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Did you have something in mind, other
I
than it's a 6-day adventure into awesomeness, in the most breathtaking spaces that I've probably ever been. It was just incredible to be in a valley of mountains and the water, and just being in that space of the bald eagles, or the wildlife that you got to see, the
What
rams.
wildlife did you get to see? And we're not promising that you're going to see this wildlife, but there's a really good chance.
Yeah, I got to see elk, a herd of elk while I was there. Rams, like there was a whole, 5 or 6 rams. We saw the mountain sheep or goats. I can't remember now. They were the shaggy ones, and
It's
more
because
creep.
they're changing seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't remember the name of the deer, but they have bigger ears than I'm
The
accustomed
mule
to.
deer. Yeah. We
Mule
saw a
deer,
couple
yeah.
different kinds of deer.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then is it the voles, or the little creatures that pop up? I don't remember the
Oh, yeah.
name of them.
At the pickleball courts or on the lodge?
No, there was ones at the lodge. They're a
Oh,
smaller, like a, I don't know. I want to call them like a large rodent, but I don't
yeah.
remember what they're called.
Oh, the marmots.
Yeah, that. The
Some
marmot.
marmots. Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
there was lots of
Yeah.
wildlife. I want, because you're fairly new to that experience, and even people who live in the mountains, like this is a very unique experience. Even if you live in the mountains, if you're not accustomed to like actually getting deep into them, this will blow your mind. But I just wanted you to share like what your experience was of going into this, and what was your experience of when we got to the boat dock? Like what did you feel? What did you think? What
Um, I'll take it before that, Jen. The boat dock, I thought it, like, the drive into the lodge was a very different experience for me, because there's not a lot of mountains where I live. And I was just awestruck by just the beauty of the mountains, and the different mountain range and the types and the jut outs of the rocks. And it was just, I just felt myself like constantly like, I was just mesmerized by
It was fun to watch too.
it was incredible. And like, they're huge, and the winding roads. And we had to go slow enough that you could take some time to appreciate it. But you had these like mountains on both sides, and then there's the winding river that, and the rippling of the water and the way the sun shines and makes it all sparkle. It was incredible. And just the different vegetation, also like sagebrush. I've never grown up around that. Like that's a new thing for me. The different types of trees. And so getting down there, I just love watching the water, and that was beautiful, getting to see the wildlife. But getting down to the dock, I think the cool part was being able to see the lodge before we got to the dock, and how it's just nestled in these ginormous mountains. And I could see, we had pictures, and it was so neat to experience it when we were actually there and get our own pictures that way, and just be immersed in that experience. And it was just incredible. It's just a different air. It's well removed from city life, and I just relished in that, and the constant being on and connected, and it was refreshing and incredibly nourishing. Just, I think, because it brings me back to a place of being humble, of I'm just a small piece in this greater landscape of our world, and just how much I haven't seen or experienced, and just that I get to be a part of that, and how that's a part of me. And just the feeling of that. It was just very calming and peaceful, and I just loved it. So
For me, I was just like, we got to the place of everything you said, just like the energy and the magic of driving that road and seeing the water the whole way, and the wildlife that we got to experience. Then getting to the point where you can look down and see the lodge, and what happens then, how you get to the lodge and you go to the dock. And when I hit that spot at the water where we were getting ready to load the jet boats, like it was this energy, just like that all encompassing, just like kind of energy of like, wow, I have just stepped into another world, and one that I know I'm going to be nourished in, I'm going to be held by. And that even though we were there for a night, I felt the difference. It was incredible to like get to explore the lodge itself, and the cabins and the area around it, to meet some of the wranglers and the staff that work there, and to know that we're bringing you a freaking awesome, epic adventure, and that the people that are a part of it have energy and a love of life, and a respect and love for the area that is unlike any other. And I can't wait to bring you to that, and it to you. And all you have to do is get yourself registered.
Yeah. And I mean, it's going to be something that you're going to remember, just because it takes you out of your everyday role, and it takes you out of who you think you need to be when you're around certain people or around certain spaces. And it just lets you really sit in what your being is, and listen to the parts of you that you don't normally listen to, because there's so many other voices saying you need to do this and you need to do that, and I should, and I this and I that. And it just helps you connect to more what's really you. And I think of milestones, and I think of big life changes, and I think of like, why is it until we get to those points that we want to rewrite or just start writing a different chapter for how we want to show up in the world. Because just because we've been doing things a certain way for so long doesn't mean it's always working, or that we can't venture and see what, taking a new exercise class could look like, or going after that. I want to write a book, or, just who do I need to be to show up in that way? And just because it's not who you have been doesn't mean it can't be who you can become or grow into. And I feel like those experiences are the ones that help us shift that without having to go through some sort of crazy crisis or milestone or whatever. I mean, it's a great opportunity to celebrate as well, but why wait? Why wait to get to that point when you have an awesome opportunity here?
I agree. I think it's just going to be it's going to be an amazing place to look at the lines. Look at the lines in your life, and what have you drawn, and what would you like to draw, and where would you like to redefine or reline, or all of the things, and to be able to do it in safe spaces with other people who are on similar journeys, and will be able to relate to you and your experience. And I feel like I feel like I've got to put in this caveat of, like, it's not always comfortable. It's not comfortable, like in the reassessing and the realigning and all realigning. That's awesome. It's not always comfortable, but it's worth it. And so take this opportunity to, like, feel scared, feel the fear that you're feeling, feel the questioning, and then take the step and get yourself registered, which means you just let's have a phone call, because we are protecting the space. We want to make sure that the energy of the trip is safe, because we know that there's going to be a lot of change, but we also know that you're up to it. So reach out. You can go to therighteousrebels.com, or you can just send us a message here and we'll set up a phone call, or show you how to set up a phone call, and let's get that process started. And preferably sooner than later, because guess what? You're worth investing in. It's worth you investing in you, and just starting those reserves for yourself of, like, what are the next steps?
Well, and it's not just a river trip. It's not a vacation. It's a, because we're putting this on and we're bringing our experiences and our exercise or activities or whatever you want to call it. Plus we have the wisdom and just the guides that have their own yummy nuggets, as you say, to share. And it's, and then there's going to be support after the trip for, reintegration and staying connected with the group, and how all that looks like. So definitely something to explore.
Right. There's going to be, this thought just keeps running through my mind. There's going to be a hell of a lot of fun and a hell of a lot of learning. And if you're up for both, let's go. We got it. We currently have a place for you, but they won't last. So don't wait. Don't procrastinate this. Let's get you in the boat. Leah, thanks for today's conversation. Thanks for introducing me to the line. I didn't really feel that way in the very beginning of that, but I knew that it would shift if I stuck with it. And so thanks for introducing that, and being a safe place to investigate that for myself. And then
I'm super glad you. Sorry.
I said just coming on and chatting about it today.
Well, I'm just super glad that you were open to that process and you didn't run from it. So there's something to be said for that.
Yep. All right. Any last thoughts?
What lines are you coming up against is my question to you watching today. And are they your lines? And how do you feel about those lines? and what would it mean to blur the line, and just really exploring, like maybe it's a good journal post of, or journal entry of what those lines are in your world, and what are the lines that you feel like you can't cross but you kind of want to, and you've been playing around with. And what can those lines teach you? I think that's part of what I love in that book, is the line is your friend, and it's trying to teach you to look at things in a little different way. So those are my
and that's the rebellious piece I want to just really identify here, is that it is super rebellious. It is super rebellious to pause and take time to look at you and what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, and to put words to it and to talk about it and to grow from it. But even more than grow, like to release the pressure and to recognize that there's so much more underneath all of those things. That is rebellion. That is righteous rebellion. And we wholeheartedly support that. So just thanks for being you. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for like being willing to play and to create and to just be the amazing rebels that you already are, whether you know it or not. All right. I think we're out. So with that, are we gonna get this time? It's a little more challenging when we're in different places and time zones and a screen.
Okay.
Okay, I understand. All right, remember, be bold,
be brave,
be a rebel.
Be a rebel.
Oh, snap. We'll get it. Okay, it's so much easier when we're like next to each other and we can read that energy. All right, you guys are amazing. Feel free to leave us comments. Feel free to let us know your thoughts, and feel free to get yourself registered for our August trip, because we cannot wait to be on the river with you. We'll see you soon.